Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a former Boeing 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. PMDG have listened and they have just released a new update to the Universal Flight Tablet, which includes one of the most requested features. In particular, you are now able to import not only your route as previously, but you can also load the airplane's weight and balance and fuel through the Universal Flight Tablet import functions now. Also, you've got quite a couple more FMC uplinks so that you can basically fill your FMC the realistic way, almost completely, from Simbrief now. We're going to have a look at that in a few moments, but before we do that, let's just quickly have a look at some of the general features in the changelog, and then we'll have a direct look into how the new features work on the Universal Flight Tablet. So changes amongst others includes the map now being able to show changes made on the FMC. The landing dispatch data in the performance calculator is now fed into the landing en route fields. The tablet is now capable of showing METAs between midnight and 1 o'clock UTC, but most importantly, the 2-click Simbrief integration of the route, payload, fuel and performance loading into the FMC is now available. There's also quite a couple more changes, so do have a look at the changelog that you can find linked in Robert Randazzo's announcement in the video description below. Now, let's head straight into the airplane and we're going to have a look at what the new features look like in practice now. So, welcome to the 737 flight deck and let's take a seat in the captain's seat. So the airplane has just been loaded from our MSFS menu. I have not done anything to it quite yet. So, just as you were used to, you now go into the electronic flight bag app and you're going to request your data from Simbrief, and it is automatically going to import the data now. So in order to get this into the FMS now, here's what you do, and this is pretty much exactly how you would do it in the real 737 as well. You go to the FMC, and you go over to the route page and you go on to flight plan request without entering anything in here. So you go on flight plan request and now you've got this new Simbrief route down here. When you click on that, it now leads you to this new page over here where you've got the ability to set payload and set fuel. So if we just quickly hit this, it's automatically going to set the payload, and when we go on the right, it's automatically going to uplift the block fuel that we've planned from Simbrief. In this case, 6,040 kilogram was our plan, and 6,040 kilogram is exactly what it's uplifted into the airplane now. Alright, so it is worth noting at this point that the values you're going to see are pounds for the weights if Simbrief is set to pounds, or if your tablet is set to pounds, and the fuel is always going to be the number that you've got from your flight plan. Alright, so with our flight ID page now looked at, we can now go on to select route, and this is now going to request and uplink the flight plan as you are used to from the previous uplink functions the 737 already had. So basically what you're going to see is that the entire route is going to be automatically uplinked when the uplink is there. So here we go, load, and this is going to uplink the entire route in here. Do note it takes a couple of moments, just like in the real airplane, to get this uplinked. So let's give it a little moment. And here we go. In our case, it was just a single waypoint, because if we have a look at it, we can see we've got a sit, we've got a star, and there's just a single waypoint in between, which is completely normal. So sit and star are never part of the uplinked route. That is normal, and they still need to be entered manually by the pilot, as is realistic for the Boeing 737. So if we just insert this, if we insert that, like this, now you've got your realistic route loading exactly as per the real plane. Now we can go forward to performance init, and on here we can now press the performance init request. And this once again is going to automatically uplink the Simbrief values, with a single exception, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So let's first give the plane a little moment in order to fetch its data. Here we go, performance init uplink, load. and this is now completely coming from Simbrief. There is a single exception to that, and that is the cruise altitude field up here. Now, as you can see, cost index, reserve, zero fuel weight, all of that stuff comes straight from Simbrief, but the cruising altitude does not, and there's a reason for that. The reason is that Simbrief often plans incorrect cruising levels, or often plans much too low cruising altitudes. For example, Simbrief might go ahead and plan an initial climb to 5,000 feet, then later a step climb to flight level 230, and then 100 miles later the climb to the intended cruising level of 370. So what PMDG is doing over here, because Simbrief often gets these cruising altitudes and step climbs not very right, is that PMDG is going ahead and going into the original Boeing tables now, and based on the length of your trip it is going to pick a cruising altitude automatically. So if you want to actually match the Simbrief level, then just enter whatever you've got in Simbrief. However, a small tip from the real world over here. In the real world, you would enter the cruising level at which you really intend to cruise at first. So even though there might be a step climb via several different altitudes filed, until the maybe 4th or 5th altitude might be flight level 370, you would still go ahead and enter level 370 in the real world over here, because the cruising level entered on the performance init page actually has an influence on the climb speed of the airplane. So therefore, in order to get correct performance data, a pilot would go ahead and enter the expected first cruising level over here and not the stuff from the flight plan. Now, since that data is unavailable from Simbrief, what PMDG did is just to go by the Boeing tables and enter the most economic cruising altitude there based on the Boeing tables. What's also automatically filled out is the transition altitude, which in our case is 2,500 feet. And that is a new thing, as the previous database did not have the transition altitude available. Likewise, if we go onto the descent forecast page, the transition level, if there is any published, is automatically going to be filled out as well. And if there is no level published, it is going to fill in the transition altitude of the destination aerodrome. So, on top of that, we of course also have the wind request function, as we used to have previously, and we also have the descent forecast request function. All of those were available beforehand already. Now, in order to grab your update, you can go to the PMDG Operations Center if you purchase the airplane through the PMDG store, or you can go ahead and grab the local email program, whichever you are using, and send complaints to Asobo for being so incredibly slow with updating the airplane on Marketplace, for those of you who purchased from Marketplace. So, Robert Randazzo also posted some information regarding Marketplace customers in the announcement that he did on the forums, and I am just going to read that out to you so that you get the information straight away in the original form. PMDG 737 updates for MS Marketplace customers for PC users. Build 3.00.0082, which will bring the Universal Flight Tablet to Marketplace PC, is expected to be made live by Microsoft this coming Thursday, 30th of November 2023. This update has had a slow gestion period, including the national holiday here in the USA that is traditionally a Thursday or Friday holiday period that is traditionally more of a Tuesday through Friday holiday to celebrate Thanksgiving with families. The moment 3.00.0082 has been released to you, PMDG will submit the next update in the series to Marketplace, which will be either 0.85, the one they released today for direct sales customers, or 0.86, which is currently in preparation for direct release. They expect the next release to take about 14 days to wend its way through Marketplace intake. So, TLDR, the update adding the tablet to your 737 is due on Thursday. The next update will arrive 14 days later if all goes well through Marketplace intake. PMDG 737 update for Marketplace customers for Xbox users. Currently, the 737 on Xbox are in holding due to the fact that the Universal Flight Tablet does not work on Xbox platform. They believe they know why the tablet is being prevented from working and have reached out to the platform developer for help and guidance, as according to all publicly available documentation, things should behave just swimmingly. They are working on this behind the scenes and awaiting further guidance and feedback in response to their inquiries. Once they have some guidance from the platform developer, they will advise you as to the next steps. Unfortunately, since the tablet and the airplane are tightly intertwined, which was done to make the tablet work in Xbox in first place, they are unable to update the 737 on Xbox until they resolve the problems with the platform developer. They are currently evaluating ways to unlink the two, but this is a lower priority than simply getting the blockers unstuck on the tablet side so that they can freely flow updates to Xbox as well. As Rob has mentioned earlier, the marvelous thing about Microsoft Flight Simulator is that it is identical on both PC and Xbox. The hazard is that Xbox is, by design, and rightly so, a very tightly protected environment, so there are things that they run into as they sprint out into the Xbox community with new features that test the limits of what MSFS SDK is truly capable of. A whole lot of people are interested in seeing these solutions work, so your patience is appreciated. Let's also talk about PMDG 737 updates pending next week. Their envisioned update cycles to the Universal Flight Tablet right now are what they call a 3-and-1 cycle. 3 weeks to push major change updates, followed by 1 week later with a stability or corrections build in which they try to knock down annoyances and smooth rough edges. The update cycle will continue next week with an update to bring some quick fixes to the tablet. So, there is finally a NOTAM for Simbrief users out there. If you generate a flight plan for the 737 using Simbrief, please be sure to select an airline and a flight number for your flight plan. They found a problem in which failure to have a flight number populate with the flight data can cause the airplane to fail unceremoniously upon flight plan loading. The trick to avoid it is simply to have a flight number. Next week's update is going to include a fix to prevent this from happening. So, the update is available right now. If you've purchased from PMDG directly, just head to the PMDG Operations Center and do your usual update cycle. That's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think about the new flight plan import function and the way PMDG implemented it. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit the like button if you indeed liked the video. Be sure to subscribe for further updates and a full flight featuring the new import functions. And I'm looking forward to welcome you all again on the next one. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and enjoy your flights with the new update.